Hello and thanks for tuning in to Undercurrent, WA's only current affairs show made right here in Perth, by Perth people, about Perth people. It's great to have you with us tonight. We've got another great show lined up for you. WA is a state blessed with many resources, but one of the most important ones, water, always seems to be in short supply. Journalist Nikki Campati spoke to the Water Corp about the state of our dams and whether or not saving 60 really can help.
Thirsty. No, you're just another water waster. And thanks to tough new laws, we have ways of dealing with you.
We certainly thought so when we came up with the original target, that it was something that was tough but achievable at the same time. Really what we're trying to get the message out was that for a 10% reduction in consumption, and to translate what that actually means, most people don't really have an appreciation as to how much water they do actually use.
We've just come off one of the hottest and driest summers we've had in a long time. If this dry weather continues, where to from then? Is this going to be enough? Do we need to take more drastic measures?
Target 60 has been great over the period of the summer months, and we've saved as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, we have the first seawater desalination plant built in Australia, which came online in 2006. We've got another one which comes online in November of this year. We're relying even more on groundwater, but even so, we really do need some rainfall and some inflow this year. We've got this gap of 76 billion litres that we've identified that we need to be filled up through either savings or through a reduction in consumption. We've already saved 16 billion litres, just over. It's about 16.5 billion litres with the advent of the Target 60 campaign.
Right now in Perth, we have a gap between how much water we have and how much we use each year. And our drying climate means we can't always rely on water flow into our dams to bridge that gap. That's why it's vital to keep saving 60 litres of water per person per day. We can't control the rain, but we can control our savings. And together, we can help stop Perth from drying out.
What are our dams looking like at the moment?
Yeah, well, the dams are quite concerning, but really the concerning part was how low they were at the end of winter. The start of summer, they're already incredibly low. I think we're talking in the order of just over 30%, 30 to 35%. We haven't been, as a result of the low inflows into our dams, we haven't been relying on them as much as we have in the past, essentially.
So maybe most importantly, what are some hints and some tips for the average person to be able to save 60 litres per person per day?
I guess it matches with the areas where we use most of our water. So the big things really are about mulching your gardens, applying soil wetting agents, putting in efficient irrigation systems. Basically, for every minute you reduce your irrigation system runtime by, it translates to a roughly 130 litre saving for every single minute of every single time you activate that system. People can, of course, partake in our showerhead swap program, so swapping over their existing inefficient showerhead for a more efficient one, and that's going to save your household around 20,000 litres per year, just replacing it with a more efficient showerhead. Also, we've got a toilets to go program for people to swap over their old single flush toilet or even inefficient dual flush toilet for a more efficient one. That'll save of the order of 35,000 litres per year. So there's numerous examples around the house which really add up. And it's as a result of that and having our Target 60 campaign and people seeing where they can make the savings that we've been averaging around 81 litres per person per day, so above and beyond the Target 60 at the moment. And
so it's not that inconvenient. It's not, having to shower with buckets. It's actually just small changes that we need to make for this to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can do a lot more than we have in the past. Perth's per capita consumption has been significantly higher than any other capital city in Australia. And also the fact, I guess, that we only get our rainfall over about 5 or 6 months of the year, and the rest of the time it's hot and dry. And that's really the key message we're trying to get through at the moment, is that we need to change from this psyche of we don't get a lot of rain, therefore we have to use a lot of water. Instead, we need to be of the I guess the value that we don't get a lot of rain, therefore we can't use a lot of water. So putting in gardens that are appropriate to our climate.
It's a harsh world out there, and if you want a drink of water this summer, you're a greedy bitch.
WA is home to some of the best businesses in Australia. In fact, Meerkats, the advertising agency who's responsible for doing all of iiNet's advertising, are based right here in Perth as well. At Black Tom's this week, Nick Hayes chats to Gavin Bain, who is the managing director of Meerkats, and they talk about how Meerkats and other WA agencies are competing with the major competition from over east.
Gavin, thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
It's been a big year for Meerkats. What do you put your success down to?
I think that we're offering something different in the market, something that clients are really engaging with. The Meerkats offer is really about working with brands that want to do something above and beyond the profit imperative, something that is for the greater good. And they're really looking for an agency that works more as a partner and in their business and in their organisation and as a business advisor. And I think that's the core difference, and that's the core difference you're seeing in the agency world.
You've recently won a couple of awards. What were they for?
We won at the Award Awards, which is an interesting name, but it was really creative awards for our HBF TV and radio. We won silver and bronze, which is a really big achievement for a Perth agency.
When you say Perth agency, because it was against all the big boys over in the eastern states, what is it like and what resources do you have over here in the west to battle those over there in the east?
Look, I don't think that geography should be any kind of limiter for us, and that's what we're trying to do. Is that, and the reason that we enter those kind of awards is that we really want to benchmark ourselves against the best in the world. We did come 9th out of in Australia for the awards, which we were really proud of, and it really made us feel good and the clients feel great that they're actually producing world-class work, which is great.
Your HBF advertisements, they've reached critical acclaim, but also too has attracted criticism. How do you respond to that criticism?
I mean, we were happy. I mean, obviously, it was quite polarising. The reason that it's been performing so well in awards is because it is polarising and very different for the category. What we're trying to do is to reframe what people think about personal health, and those ads are really targeted towards existing members to help them recognise why they've got that health insurance, and it did a great job of that. So we're happy for the criticism because it worked for the clients. Yeah.
There's no doubt that you've had such great success because you're constantly in the media, you are constantly winning the awards. What is it that makes Meerkats different to other advertising agencies?
I think that we're focused on outcomes, not outputs. So when you talk to someone at Meerkats, we're not about making things. We don't make ads or press. They're an outcome of the work that we do, but we're working with our clients around their brand and their brand strategy. Business advising so that they can help grow their business. The end output is generally advertising or TV. That's not the mindset that we go into it with, which I think is quite different.
New media and social media has emerged as a real alternative. How important is it with your strategy that you supply to your clients?
I think it's a boon for our industry. It's going to continue to change and grow. I think it puts a lot of pressure on our clients because they're not sure what to do in that new media environment either. So it really, they look to us to help make sense of that. And so I think it's really good if you're in that advisory capacity.
In your opinion, what has the advertising world got in store for it in the coming years?
Yeah, look, I think that we'll continue to grow. I think that if we can continue to connect with brands in a broader context than just the ads that they output, if we're talking to them about their strategy and their marketing communications, that's the future for our industry.
What's next for Meerkats?
At the moment, because we have had such a successful year, we're really trying to settle down a little bit and look after our clients and make sure that the new clients are really experiencing full strength Meerkats. From that point, once we're comfortable, we'll open the doors again and see what happens from there.
Gavin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We are here at the University of Western Australia at the 2011 Consumer Protection Awards. Let's go in and find out what's going on. Driscoll, the Commissioner for Consumer Protection. Hi, and how are you today?
Very well, thank you, Mara.
Are you excited about today's event?
Very much so. Today is such a celebration of all the wonderful people in our community who do so much to protect consumers.
How many candidates were there before choosing all the finalists?
Well, this year is an unprecedented number of nominations, and from memory it's in the order of 30 different nominations, and across a range of categories, both groups of people working together, but also individuals who took that extra step and ran that extra mile. So a great opportunity to recognise groups as well as individuals, and of course there's a product safety award as well for people who've been particularly alert to dangerous products in the community and then prepared to do something about it.
Rona, you were basically the superstar of this event. How do you feel for this year's awards and candidates?
I think when I was first asked to have the award named in my honour, I said no, because I didn't think that was a very good idea. But on second thoughts, I thought it was an opportunity for others who work in tasks which are sometimes quite discouraging to receive some award. And so this is the 7th occasion, and it's all been, the award winners have all been worthy, and I've enjoyed it.
I'm here with Minister of Commerce Simon O'Brien. Simon, tell us, how does it feel to be involved in such an amazing event?
Mara, it's a great pleasure to be associated with this. You know, this is the true community face of Western Australia, where today we'll be honouring people that of their own volition make a contribution by looking out for people that may be vulnerable and trying to help them gain the protections they need. So the Consumer Protection Awards are a special part of the calendar for my department, where we acknowledge those people that have been contributing.
Do you feel that over the years there have been a lot of improvement in the consumer protection communities and everyone that's been working on it?
Yeah, look, I'm rather proud of the work that our Consumer Protection Division does, and very pleased that we're able to work with so many other people in the community as well that are involved in their own right or as part of consumer organisations. Look, there's always going to be scammers and fraudsters out there. There's always going to be people that have a little bit of difficulty in working their way through dealing with issues, and perhaps they can be taken advantage of. So as a community, it's important that we reassert the value at every chance of protecting our vulnerable consumers and making sure everyone gets a fair deal.
I never expected this, you know, and I, as I say, have a passion to help the disadvantaged, and it's just, I just really feel that to see the difference in people's lives that you can make, you know, and just by giving them, showing them, giving them skills, new skills, and to just hopefully better their lives.
I always have liked working for the community sector. That's what I've done from the time I've been here. I've been in Australia for 20 years, and I've worked in the community sector for 18 years.
I think the awards are a really good opportunity for people to have their efforts shown.
It's recognition of your work, you know, so it really feels good that you've been recognized for your work.
Well, I've wandered into the iconic Subiaco Hotel to have a quick beer while we go to a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Undercurrent. Subiaco's heritage buildings are few and far between. However, Fremantle is a totally different story. You can go down to Fremantle, it's about 10 minutes away from Subiaco on the train, and it is chock filled with heritage and historic buildings. Now, the Fremantle Society, which has its beginnings back in 1972, seeks to improve the quality of life of people in Fremantle whilst also protecting the unique historic and heritage buildings that we've got down there. Christy Molliker caught up with the Society to actually find out what they've been doing lately. I'm off to Fremantle.
city of Fremantle is much loved for its colourful cultural feel, its distinctly aromatic cappuccino strips, and for its many beautiful historic buildings. But it might be a little known fact that many of those buildings might not still be standing if it wasn't for a very special society. So John, what is the Fremantle Society?
Well, Christy, the Fremantle Society is a group that was originally set up in 1972 when there were plans to put a 6-lane highway through this end of Fremantle and to demolish this building behind us. And there was a real need to stop this rampant demolition for development's sake. And they were manning the barricades, they got the green bans imposed, and many of the buildings in Fremantle are here because the Society put in such an effort to save them.
What would you say have been some of the big wins for the Fremantle Society?
If you go to our headquarters and stand on the balcony and look across to the port, you see where the ING development was going to be built. It was in essence what ING are good at, a box shopping centre with a huge car park, and was just totally inappropriate in its bulk scale form for the port, and people understandably railed against it. A joint statement came from ING and the ports saying they will no longer pursue that development. And I think that's such an important win for the community, and Fremantle Society played a very active role in that.
Why do you think the Fremantle Society is so important?
I guess because over those years it has been a lone voice in so many instances, and people look back and say, thank God the Society did that. At the time, you know, it wasn't something that was a generally popular view to take, and I think that taking step back and taking 2 minutes or 5 minutes to think about something and then to put the alternative case and to say, hey, this is actually really good for us and it will be good for our city into the future is important. Heritage is not keeping something as it was. It's adaptive reuse and making a building tell a story but still work in today's circumstances.
And what are some of the future plans for the Fremantle Society?
Well, future plans are to get more involved in the cultural heritage, in looking back and see what people did. Debates on heritage. Does looking back at heritage help us to inform the future? I personally believe it does. But Heritage Festival is an annual festival. It's put on by the City of Fremantle. The centrepiece are Heritage Awards, which cover writing, written awards, cultural awards and built awards. So people who have renovated a house and made it look absolutely stunning and gorgeous and a great place to live. There's things such as tram tours going around the buildings that the Society saved. These sorts of things, you know, that help people remember their past in a warm way and I say look to the future. People who build cities tend not to look back at previous cities. They want to leave their mark. The great town planners at the moment are saying that cities should be places for people, and our heritage and our history can tell us a lot about what works and what doesn't.
Hi, my name is Anne-Marie Leonard and we're in the city today asking people their opinions on public transport. So how often do you use the public transport in Perth?
Every day.
What do you use it for?
Coming to and from work.
Yeah, every day to uni and back home.
I would use it possibly a couple of times a week, yeah.
Probably like 3 or 4 times a week.
Every day drop my wife off at TAFE.
Most days, yeah, just to get to work.
And why do you use the transport in Perth?
It's easy, it's clean, it's cheap.
It's reliable and quite frequent actually, so during peak hours and all it's not that bad.
I think it's fantastic service. Very good, very safe, no problems whatsoever.
Do you encounter any problems with the trains at all?
Yes, in fact yesterday I couldn't get off the platform because they'd overshot the platform. So that was a bit awkward. This poor lady was just about to get out onto the tracks. I wasn't too impressed with that one.
Oh, the trains I find a bit rough sometimes. People are travelling on them. Yeah, not so nice.
Just some of the characters you get on the train. I don't really like a lot of people.
There's too much, how would we say, there's too many people on there who should be made to walk.
The one concern I have about the use of trains is to encourage
a lot of people who would like to drive or use a train, they need car parking near railway stations.
One of the buses didn't even come this morning, so I had to wait longer for the bus to get in.
Why do you choose to use public transport than driving into the city?
More convenient, more cost effective.
I've driven in once and it cost me $30 to park for the day, so never again.
I try to avoid driving in. I only do when I have to.
Because I don't have a car now.
Most of the roads are busy and you can't drive on the streets and all that because you take your time and you might be late to class and all that, so yeah.
Because the traffic is increasingly bad and the parking is increasingly difficult to find.
The Fukushima reactor in Japan, a radioactive nightmare. Workers are still desperately trying to get the situation under control.
The nuclear disaster in Japan is causing a lot of concern throughout the world. Serious questions are being raised over the dangers of nuclear energy, with many countries now reviewing the safety standards. In Germany, for example, they have started temporarily closing down some of the old reactors. In Australia, there are no nuclear power stations. However, some scientists say that this could change in the future. But is nuclear energy an option for Australia?
When we consume electricity in WA, it is mainly produced from natural gas and coal, while some countries prefer to use nuclear power. I'm meeting Laurie Glossop, who is working as an occupational health consultant. He and his colleague are involved in looking at all health hazards, including radiation.
So how exactly does a nuclear power station work?
Well, a nuclear power station works on the principle of nuclear reactions. And what you have is uranium that is going through fission. In other words, the atoms are breaking up. And in that process, it liberates heat as well as other radiation that comes off. And that heat then heats water. And that water then heats another system where it generates steam. And it generates high temperature, high pressure steam, which then drives a turbine, and the turbine turns and that generates electric power.
What are the main differences between nuclear energy versus fossil fuels or renewable energy?
The greatest difference, I suppose, that people will be aware of is that when you're generating power by using nuclear reaction, what you're actually then is producing very little carbon dioxide. The actual reaction is just heating water. So in terms of global warming, nuclear power is considered to be less polluting because of the carbon dioxide. If you talk about things like wind and solar and maybe biomass, they're considered to be another alternative source of power compared to traditional burning of fossil fuels. So there are other technologies which don't produce carbon dioxide. Uranium is one of them, and then we've got those others which are like wind and solar, etc.
Worldwide, there are 30 countries with nuclear power plants, and Australia is even providing the uranium for these reactors. Why aren't we having this technology too?
It probably comes down to purely cost. And to generate nuclear power in Australia, it is a lot more expensive than the traditional means of power. Essentially, it's around about 2 times more expensive than what we use at the moment with coal-based power. So yes, the reason we're not using nuclear is probably more financial rather than necessarily political.
Mia Pepper is an anti-nuclear campaigner. She is worried about the safety of nuclear power. Looking at the pictures of Fukushima, she sees her fears confirmed.
What are your main concerns regarding nuclear power?
There's a lot of unsolved problems with the nuclear industry, and one of the biggest ones, which after 50 years of commercial nuclear power, is no radioactive waste storage. So around the world, with over 400 reactors operating now, there's still nowhere to put the radioactive waste, and that is radioactive and damaging to human health for tens of thousands of years. So until that problem is solved, this industry is really not viable, and that's one of the biggest problems we're seeing now at Fukushima is the radioactive waste, the spent nuclear fuel.
Based on Australia's large reserve of uranium, wouldn't nuclear energy seem to be a logical solution to providing our future energy needs?
I don't think that the uranium resources in Australia mean that we should have nuclear power at all. In fact, I think it means that I don't think we should be digging up the uranium in the first place, because when you're mining uranium, you're essentially turning a natural environment into a radioactive waste dump. Just because it's here doesn't mean that we should be using it.
For Australians, nuclear energy remains a debate rather than a reality. As long as electricity costs don't start to bite the consumer and coal resources remain cheap, nothing will change in a hurry. But global warming and an imminent carbon tax could make power more expensive and put atomic energy back on the political agenda.
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. If you'd like to get involved with Undercurrent, or you've got a story that you think that we should cover, please get in touch with us here at West TV. This is your show about your city, and we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback really is a very important part of how we put this show together. Why not visit our website at wtvperth.com.au and join in our discussion forums. You can also follow us on Twitter at Undercurrent TV. We'll be back again next week, and we'd love to have your company then. I'm Jason Jordan. Good night.